All right, let's call this meeting to order. A roll call, please.
Showalter.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Howard.
Here.
Redlin.
Here.
Thompson.
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening, everybody. We are going to start with a public hearing regarding an unfit structure at 106 North Caldwell. We will start that hearing at 5:01 p.m. We'll have Jeff come up, tell us about it.
Hello. Well, been kind of working on the property. We had a resolution, can't remember exactly when, but we went in and kind of boarded up a window and a door that was broken in to secure it and keep people out of it. I made sure the door was locked when I left, and no animals were in there when I went through it. Make sure. And a neighbor around the area said there was a cat around. Wanted to make sure it wasn't in there. So anyway, the property currently is still in the same state it was. Nothing's changed. We do have a few parties interested. I think 3 different groups that had some interest in the property and trying to get it and get it cleaned up and fixed up. So
Okay.
about all I've got on it so far. See, one group's here. I invited the other groups, and apparently they didn't want to show up. So, if you guys have anything you want to add, more than welcome to.
We just didn't know what the proper procedure was you guys were going to do. We're interested in getting the property and,
Could I get you to step up to the podium, please?
oh, sorry.
Thank you.
We're just interested in getting the property and redoing it. There's a lot of structures that you guys tear down, and then we have vacant lots, and then they require all this maintenance and stuff. We want to get the property. We are prepared to bid for it if it's a bidding thing. We want to fix it up, clean it up, and let it be a good standing in the community.
We already have people interested in coming and cleaning up all the dead trees and getting it cleaned up. But we said we can't do anything until we get the okay, so they're just waiting to see if we're gonna get it or not. So we
Okay.
just don't think it needs to go down.
Oh, okay, very good. Well, at this point in time, the city does not have ownership of the property. We're just kind of going through a process currently. So there still is some time, if something were to happen between you and the current owners, that there is time that something could still happen. Okay. Anybody else have anything else they'd like to add? Okay, then we will close this hearing at 5:03 p.m. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to public comment. Is there anybody signed up? Nobody signed up, but we do have Craig here with us. If you want to go ahead and come up. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you all?
Good.
Hope you had a great holiday.
We did, thank you. You as well, I hope.
Yeah, we did. Things get a little busy at the hospital over holidays, but that's okay. That's what we're there for. So I actually have a very short report this morning. Just want to report financials from this evening. Sorry. It's
It all runs together sometimes,
yeah.
I understand.
So just have the November financials that we wanted to go through real quickly and just give an update on that. So first item, patient revenues for the month, just a little over 2.9 million against a budget of 3.3. We've been talking about this every month that I've come. Revenue is running a little bit behind for the year, but we are those deductions or the adjustments, the contractual adjustments have also been significantly less this year, so we've got that in place. So 1.49 million, almost 1.5 million, giving us a total income before expenses of 1.4 million for the month, and for the year 19.4. Again, that's against a budget for the year of 19.7, so just about 1.6% off of budget. So not horrible, but they'll run a little bit behind on the revenue side. On the expense side, as you know, the biggest item continues to be salary. Salaries are at $579,000 for the month, just over $7 million for the year. That's against a budget of $7.6 million. So we still have a few openings that we're looking to fill, and some of those we filled during the year. That's put us a little bit trailing on the salary. That's an area we don't really want to save on. We'd like to go ahead and spend that money on our employees, but it has helped us a great deal this year as we've been able to keep that in check. And as I reported last month, we had our next round of adjustments took effect last pay period in December, so those adjustments have gone in, and employees we've completed that project for the year of 2022. We'll see what 23 has to bring. So, going on then, our total operating expenses for the month of 1.49, or just under 1.5 million. Year to date, 18.2, bringing us to a total operating income, or in this case, operating loss for the month of November of 107,000. Year to date, we've had a operating income of $359,000. On the below the line other income, 340B for the month was 98,000. Year to date, 1.2 million, so we've done fairly well in the 340B for the year. Our tax appropriations, 57,000 for the month. Again, running a total of 630,000 for the year. Brings us to a total operating revenue of 178,000 for the month, 1.9 for the year, and then total net income of a positive 35,000 for the month and 2 million for the year. And the bigger number, we talked about this before, is that EBITDA percentage of how well we're performing. The target's kind of around 13%, is top or the better performing hospital, healthcare organizations maintain that. And we're running year to date 14.36%, so we're doing okay on that EBITDA margin, which is important. Everyone understands the EBITDA, earnings before interest and taxes and amortization and all the other fun things we get to dug out. So it's basically looking at the actual operations of the hospital. So very quick summary on the finances, but any questions anybody has on that?
I don't think so.
We did finish out the year strong. We'll get to the final numbers on my next report for the year and how we're doing there. But all in all, a pretty good year for the hospital. A good year for our community. And you've heard me say this before, the hospital and the community really are one. They need to work together, and they do very well. And so we're here for the community, and the community's here for us, and it's back and forth. And neither one survives or thrives without the other. So we really need them both to work together. That's really it. Just we've had a good year, and the staff's doing great. So
Good. Anybody have any questions? I just
All right.
have one, just a follow-up from last time you were here
Okay.
about regarding the phones, how those gotten.
they are the new system. I'm hiding here because I've got someone checking me on my left. They are in place and working, and so far, things are going smoothly. So the next step in that, we wanted to get the main phone lines in place and working, and then we will start, as I don't know how much detail I gave you before, but start now rolling out the direct line contacts. I think I shared with you the problem before is you'd get a phone call from the hospital, and I just experienced this myself. Just the other day, I got a phone call, and I went, okay, and I called the number back, and they said, we don't know where it came from. So it's not unique to us, but we're trying to fix the problem. So those direct lines will be coming into place, rolling out now this month, so that if you get a call from radiology, it says radiology, not just the hospital. And so you'll know which, when you call back, they'll know who it was. So we can work on that. So that's coming out. So thanks for that follow-up, Aaron. That's, it's come along really well.
Yeah, good. All right,
I get to do a whole renewal of our IT contract this year. So anybody know a good IT person?
Not me.
Not
I
you.
know that.
That's what I say, not me. Is that one of these, those goes?
Yeah, okay.
All right. Thank you so much, and wish you all a Happy New Year.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda. We have A, the 12/19/22 commission meeting minutes, and B, the appropriation ordinances 2023-01, 2023-01A, and 2023-P01. Any questions, comments, concerns regarding the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda, items A and B.
I have a motion by Commissioner Redlin,
Second.
a second by Commissioner Myers. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Redlin.
Yes.
Sorry.
You're okay. Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Showalter.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to 5, the commission leadership transitions and oaths. We will start out with the election of the mayor for a 1-year term.
I nominate Aaron Thompson.
Second.
I was. Okay, so we have, as I open up the floor to discussion and our nominations, we have a motion by Commissioner Howard and a second by Commissioner Redlin. Any other further discussion?
Thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you.
Roll, please.
Showalter.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Redlin.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Well, thank you, everybody, for that vote of confidence. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
And we'll move on to the election of vice mayor for a 1-year term.
I'd like to nominate J.J. Howard.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Showalter and a second by Commissioner Redlin. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Redlin.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Showalter.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay. Congratulations. All right, let's move on to ordinances and resolutions.
You gotta do your own.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
do an oath.
you are.
And if you stutter or don't say it, then we're gonna take it.
I don't put my back I, Aaron Thompson,
I, Aaron Thompson,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I support the Constitution of the United States,
that I support the Constitution of the United States,
Constitution of the State of Kansas,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the laws of the City of Goodland, Kansas.
and the laws of the City of Goodland.
I will faithfully
I will faithfully,
and to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
as mayor
as mayor
of the City of Goodland.
of the City of Goodland.
So help me God. Sign that down there. I, J.J. Howard,
I, J.J. Howard,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I support the Constitution of the United States,
that I support the Constitution of the United States,
Constitution of the State of Kansas,
Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the laws of the City of Goodland, Kansas.
the laws of the City of Goodland, Kansas.
I will faithfully
I will faithfully,
and to the best of my abilities
to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
as Vice Mayor of the City of Goodland.
as Vice Mayor of the City of Goodland.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Sign that, then I'll take that.
Thank you.
Okay, now we will move on to ordinances and resolutions. We have ordinance 1763 regarding the solid waste collection fee increase. Kent?
Last meeting, members of the commission, you approved a contract with In the Can LLC for an increase in their rates that are charged to the city. This ordinance is to change the rate that we charge customers out of an equal amount to what the increase is from In the Can LLC. So this ordinance just changes the solid waste collection fees as stated in the city code under sections 7.113 and 7.114. So it's really just changing those two sections, and the two sections are regarding the residential refuse collection rates. And then 114 is the commercial refuse collection rates. Yes, when it comes about, although, actually, I don't know. I'll have to ask the attorney here.
Okay.
And the ordinance before you takes care of that situation, and then the rates will take effect and be in full force from and after March 1st, 2023. And then I would like to ask the city attorney, I didn't clear this up before him because I wasn't here the last couple of days, but does Commissioner Redland need to step down regarding this ordinance?
It would make me feel more comfortable step down, you can, but in reality, you've already approved it through passage of the contract, so this is merely just reflecting the charges that are by our own city ordinances. However, you would still have to abstain from voting, but if you want to sit up there, you can, but you have to abstain from voting.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, anybody have any questions or comments regarding the ordinance? I guess the one question I have, just for clarification, so the amounts that are on the ordinance are larger than the amounts that are on the contract. So is there additional dollars in there that actually go to the city?
Right, because we included in our billing and also do some other things regarding on behalf of our franchise contract within the Can LLC. It's basically $1.50 or $2. I mean, it's
No, I think it's $1.50. I think
minimal amount. So, and that is not changing at this time. But we actually provide them a service by including it in our bills, which actually makes it easier for the customers instead of having. And it makes it cheaper for the franchise, obviously, because they only have one bill, they give it to us. Except for the additional containers that some people may have, or the additional pickups for commercial customers. But besides that, then they just basically have one bill to the city, and then we include it within the bill. But then it makes it easier in a couple different administrative issues to handle it through the city bill for the city purposes as well.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions? Not, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve ordinance 1763 regarding the solid waste collection fee increase.
I have a motion by Commissioner Myers. I will second that. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Myers,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Redland,
I abstain.
Showalter,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to formal actions. For starters, we have the Welcome Center lease agreement renewal. Kent?
Mayor, members of the commission, just included this on here just so it says regular part of business and it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. The Sherman County Community Development rents the Welcome Center from the city for a nominal fee, the $1 for it. But then there's certain parameters within that, who takes care of what and how they take care of the center. Everything's working out as it should, and this staff recommends renewal, and no qualms or questions regarding the renewal. So,
Okay, anybody have any questions, comments, concerns regarding this renewal?
I move that we renew the Welcome Center lease agreement.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Commissioner Redland and a second by Commissioner Howard. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Howard,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Redland,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to B, the Nemechek Farm Lease Agreement. Kent?
And I will defer to Mary Volk, City Clerk, because she knows a few particulars better than I do regarding this.
This is Melvin and Shannon Nemechek currently farm the airport property, and this is just an extension of their lease. However, we did include the property that the city purchased out there in 2020 with the FAA grant money. The terms are the same. They seem to be working out really well for the city and for Melvin.
The city ends up owning property around the airport basically because the FAA tells us that we need to own the property
Yeah.
around the airport for certain considerations regarding the operations of the airport. So in order to do that, in order to have it to some use, that's why we have this farm lease. So,
And there's currently, I think, one irrigation circle and the rest of it is dry land, I believe.
yes,
What's out
I
there?
think so.
Anybody have any questions or concerns regarding the contract? Reading through it, I think it's a pretty standard contract regarding farm lease agreement.
Move that we extend the Nemechek farm lease agreement to include the ground purchased in 2020.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Showalter and a second by Commissioner Redland. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Howard,
Yes.
Redland,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, last thing under formal actions, we have a 2023 cereal malt beverage license. It's for Cowboy Express, I believe.
Yes, the staff received the additional information for one additional business, Cowboy Corner Express LLC. I don't have an update regarding if all the inspections have been completed or not. The fire inspection he hasn't reached his merit badge yet, so, but staff would just recommend that the commission approve it pending inspection approval.
All right, anybody have any questions regarding this one?
I'll approve it. Make the motion to approve the license depending on the approval of the inspection.
For Cowboy Corner Express?
Yes.
Okay, have a motion by Commissioner Howard,
Second.
a second by Commissioner Myers. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Myers,
Yes.
Redland,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
And
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
I was pointed out by City Attorney Kling that there should be one additional action taken. Jake, if you could go ahead and state it much more clearly than I am.
Busy night for me tonight. This goes back to the unfit structure at 106 North Caldwell, okay?
Okay.
You guys you held your public hearing, right? So the next thing is, you have to make a formal action now to determine whether or not the property is in fact an unfit structure or the city has no interest in it, okay? So if you think about it this way from a procedural standpoint, and this is really just for an education of the room, the purpose of holding the hearing is to put on notice anybody out there that could have interest in this property. That's not just the owner, that also includes lien holders or, quite frankly, a tenant or anybody else on the property, right? So the purpose of that is for somebody to appear and say, no, I don't believe that this property is unfit and all that stuff. If the recommendation by your code enforcement officer is that the property is not up to code and is an unfit structure, think of this as a determination, almost like a probable cause hearing. Do we, the city, have enough right then to go forward on this property? And if the recommendation is that yes, the property does need to be pursued in this way, then I would suggest you go ahead and proceed with a determination that it is unfit. But that is what then opens the doors then for the city to have the controlling factor of timing on this property, if you kind of see where I'm going here. We have in our code and provisions that allow for extensions of time to allow for abatement, cleanup, transfer, things like that. But now that we've had our hearing, we need to go ahead and have a determination as to whether or not you find it is unfit or it is not, and therefore it just goes off. So that would be my suggestion at this time, that you proceed with at least holding a formal vote as to determine whether or not it's unfit. Then, my suggestion would be, if you so choose that you do find that it is unfit, I would give your code enforcement officer 30 days to make a recommendation as to what he believes would be the best plan of action going forward with this property, whether it be demolition, abatement, or some other means of finding a way for the property to get resolved.
Thank you,
Right,
sir.
thank you. Okay, so we'll go back to the structure at 106 North Caldwell. This has been something that has been on the radar for a while. We have had many pictures of how it looks. We've had several updates from Jeff regarding what the property looks like. So what is everybody's thoughts regarding this property?
Well, I think after Jeff has done his work, shown us the evidence, I'm prepared to make a motion to declare it an unfit structure and let the process run its course to figure out what the next steps would be to make sure that it gets cleaned up and is taken care of. However that process needs to play out, so.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Showalter and a second by Commissioner Howard. Any other further discussion? Yeah, roll please.
Redlin,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, so I think our recommendation would be that within the next 30 days, we get some sort of direction as to where we should go with this property then.
I like it. You guys, you do what you want.
Yeah. You understand what just happened there? So there's still time for you.
I'm hard of hearing, so
Yeah. Okay.
If I understand right, that gives you more power to take over property, but I didn't understand that you're one that's gonna go ahead and disappear, or you're gonna let somebody over and pick it up and clean it up.
So basically what that'll do is it'll give us the ability to decide the best process to move forward with the property. And, and that can be determined by several things. If there's other interest in the property and some positive things start to happen, we can decide that we don't want to do anything with the property. If the property sits empty and nothing happens with it, we can move forward and decide that we want to do something with it. It basically it sets up the timetable so that it won't just sit there indefinitely, so that things will have to start happening one way or another moving forward.
There's still a chance that we get a pay taxes or something, and go in and move up on it, and there's a chance that we can still do that.
There is absolutely still opportunity there for you or somebody else to go in there and do something with the property.
I have a guy that helped artists in Baptist, if all we can talk to him, he said he did. Good donor. He said he's gonna come in and help Baptist get it up and going. But I don't know if it's disappeared or if it's disappeared, but we're still,
We're not sure what the process is.
yeah, we're hoping that it's still we can make it work, but I guess.
Yeah, like I said, even as of now, the property still belongs to the owner. So any process that you wanted to go through would have to go through the owner of the property currently. Yeah. Okay? All right. Okay, let's move on to discussion items. Starting with setting a date for a work session. Kent?
This is just follow-up from you know, we had a series of work sessions at the beginning of 2022. And so with the beginning of 2023, it was suggested by one of the commission members that would like to have a session to kind of follow up. Not just from the commission member, but also from staff, so that we can follow up, see where we're at regarding what we did with those strategic planning work sessions at the beginning of 2022. And also see if we have a good conversation about what's been completed, what's not, and what additional things, now that three of you have a year of experience on the commission and two others have their third year of additional year of experience on the commission. See if there's any changes to what you would like to make a priority. So, but I would suggest or recommend to have the work session at a different night from the regular session, so it doesn't get confused with the regular work of the commission.
So I know last year when we did these, we just, Monday nights seemed to kind of work for everybody, and we just kind of pick another Monday that worked. I don't know what everybody's calendar looks like as far as if we wanted to try to do something this month. We have next Monday, the 23rd and the 30th, all in this month for Mondays.
Either one's good for me.
I think I can make any of those work.
You said the 9th, did you just have the 9th in there?
Yep, 9th, 23rd, or the 30th are the Mondays that are all.
Yeah, should be whatever we decide on those.
Yeah.
Any three. Either one is fine.
The 9th would not work for me, so I'm on the 23rd or the 3rd, or the 23rd or the 30th.
30th won't work for me, so 23rd.
Okay, 23rd look okay?
Sounds
Shall we shoot for the 23rd? That'll give you plenty of time to kind of have a good presentation for us to see.
Staff appreciates that.
Yeah.
Regular time, 5, or what works for you?
It's just 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock works, yeah.
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
It can be at 5:30 or 6, but 5's fine.
Okay, we'll shoot for 23rd at 5 o'clock. I know I, for one, am looking forward to having a discussion to see about how things went last year, all the things that we talked about and we wanted to accomplish, what we did and what we didn't, and what we're happy with, what we're not, and what we want to see coming up this next year. So.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to B, sewer system recommendation and staff direction. Kent?
I'm looking right now, hurriedly putting this together before I left last week. And I don't think I sent you, or did I send you?
We did not have.
Did not have it? Okay. Josh has GIS info, but the actual sheet. Let me grab it from my desk downstairs. 30 seconds. Neil will talk more, but. No, I got back here and bid in 20 minutes before the meeting. That's showing right now. And we'll follow up at next meeting, but we'll give you a basic premise of it. Is we've had sanitary sewer repair recommendations. I think I talked about it in the summer when the inspection and the cleaning occurred. We have a company, and Neil can better speak to it as far as the company and what they provide. But they gave us several recommendations. Why don't you describe what the company did, and then
For the last quite a few years, we've had Johnson Service Company come out and do some cleanings. In the last 3 years, we have had them come out and do camera and cleaning where we can have a digital footprint of the entire system once we're done. So over the last 3 years, they've kind of been compiling a project of sorts of things that they see as either severe, heavy, or average on problems in the system. And they came up with a project, and I think when I talked to Johnson Service Company last week, they're looking at about $350,000 for this 3-year project that has been building up for line repairs. We have lines that are going under a church. We have a line that goes underneath the school, and those are things that we just can't dig up and fix. So they have a cure-in-place piping, and Andrew has worked a lot with cure-in-place piping in different communities, and it keeps what pipe is left.
Basically forms a new pipe structure in there. So what they used for pipe material back in the olden days was clay tile cracks, clay tile breaks. And obviously over time it wears. So you get holes, you get cracks, which are caused by roots, could be caused by a number of things. But you run into infiltration issues, which overloads your wastewater treatment plant. So not only are you keeping that out with the cure-in-place pipe, you're creating a whole new structure for the pipe, and that's where the flow's going to come in. So that, and like Neil said, we've done it quite a few communities across the place, to where it just looks like a sock, and they steam it, heat it up, and it cures out to the outside or the inside diameter of the pipe, and that becomes your new pipe structure.
Yeah, they basically insert it into the pipe, run it from manhole to manhole, 300 to 400 feet, and then they heat it up, and it just expands out and basically puts a new layer on the inside of the pipe. And not just the infiltration, but also as far as cleaning it, especially if there's a break and it gets off center, this pipe is here and this pipe is here, and then obviously you can have, if it's flowing this way, can end up with a blockage, and it continually becomes a blockage at that point. And then they'll get calls because eventually the sewer will back up into the service lines into people's homes, and they don't particularly care about that. They give us a call pretty quick. But this is regarding the actual sewer mains throughout the system, and the product is used in a number of areas, and had it occur in a couple of communities I've worked in as well. And it provides a few decades worth. I don't think they have a real estimate of how long it will last, but it works very well. And the two places that are of particular concern are underneath the education wing of the Catholic Church and the West Elementary. We have lines under both, and they both have pretty severe problems under both. And they obviously service quite a few other customers besides, if it was just the school or just the church, it wouldn't be as much of an issue, but it serves, the line continues, and it serves a couple other residential neighborhoods, and that we don't want to cause them problems just because we can't dig underneath a building. So, and the total was about 6,000 lineal feet of pipe. I don't know. Neil and I haven't picked it apart again to make sure that's the actual lineal footage that we'd like to use.
Kind of went through it today, and it's close.
And it can go here or there.
6,000 feet, 7 manholes, rehab. If you got that other picture, Josh, we have flush basin manholes in town. And years ago, before sewer rodders and back trucks and everything, they put in these manholes, and there was actually a water line with a faucet inside there, and they would cover up that piece of pipe at the top here with something, and would fill that up with water when they started having problems in a sewer line. And once the manhole would fill up with water, they'd pull the plug, and it'd rush a bunch of water through, and they would clean it out. And they're really not useful to us anymore. The water lines have been disconnected from them for the simple fact that you can't have cross connections like that in a system. So all those have been taken out of use. So when we go to rod a sewer that has one of these, you can get so far, but you can't get into that manhole to get past the problem. You can basically get to the problem and then come back. So there's a bunch of those that need to be redone to turn into regular manholes like we have all over town. A good example is the manhole behind Tequila's. It's a flush basin manhole, and their tap is just outside that flush basin manhole, so if we ever have a problem in that line, we have trouble getting to that end to get the blockage out of there and away from everybody and move on. So, and there's 7 of those in the system that we've found so far. There's probably more that are still out there. I know there's one behind the junior high that we had to work on years ago. But there's more in the system, and to get through this project, because every year that we do cleanings and Cameron, they're going to find bad spots in our system. We're on the outskirts of our system pretty much. The worst parts, I think, are going to come later on when we get closer to the older parts of town. And once those start building up, I just don't want to get to a point where we are so far behind on fixing things that we start having major problems, and then we're spending, what did you figure a block of sewer line would be to replace? I mean, dig and put back and retap.
Yeah, that's the problem. There's a lot of the sewers are underneath city streets, so you're not just replacing the pipe. And that's what a lot of people try to attack in the beginning is these lines underneath the roads to put in here in this pipe, so you're not running into major issues later where you've got to do repairs to.
And we actually have 7 points of repair that we have to do before they can come in and do their job. So we have some spots that we have to tackle before they can do theirs, and that will kind of save us.
And Neil, describe what a points of repair is.
There's like a crack or an offset in the pipe, so we have to go in there and dig it up and cut that section out that is offset and put a piece of PVC and a couple boots in there, and then they can come back and they can actually put that cure-in-place pipe inside that to where it won't settle later on or move on us with just a rubber clamp on the end of it, and that kind of holds our patch in place so we don't have any further problems down the line.
And when he talks about a patch, it's usually just one stick of pipe, or smaller than one stick, which is 20 feet. So when he talks about points of repair, that's digging one hole for 10 or 20 feet, taking care of that situation, and then burying it back up.
And then that will allow them to come in and do their job to fix what we've fixed. So we're gonna have some holes in some streets and alleys and stuff that we have to get done, and that'll save quite a bit of money off of adding any addition to the project.
One thing as far as we're preparing this project, that we need a little bit of direction from the commission, and I spoke to the mayor briefly about when I was talking about an agenda with him about it. And that's why I think I left it in my notebook as far as the page that I showed you previously.
You just try to blame me?
But it is a decent-sized project as far as funds. We do have ARPA funds available, and this would qualify to be expended upon, like we used for the wastewater treatment plant. Now we're talking about a project for certain sewer mains. This company that provides us the camera work and the cleaning, we have experience with them. We have experience with their projects in other cities. So we have confidence in their ability to do the job, and that they already know the projects that are the points that want the project to take place. They already know what's it about. But it is a fairly large ticket project, so that if the commission would rather have us go out for an RFP and just request, we can do that as well. I mean, it'll still, the utility service would probably still give the best response, but there are another 1, 2, 3 outfits that could do the project. So, if they would have interest in it and if they would have time. But that's kind of where staff wanted to start having the discussion about, let you know, and not to ask you formally, but what route their staff should go is go ahead and prepare an RFP. We could prepare it, let you take a look at it, and you can have, we've had a little bit of description of what the project is right now. You can give us a response about it. We didn't really have anything in the packet for you. And, yeah, well, that one, yeah. They can have that work on. Look at the pretty picture. But, and then also about the use of ARPA funds for this type of project. So those are the two things that staff's trying to get direction on as we try to move forward to try to get this project underway. And does it seem like a worthwhile project to pursue? I guess before we get to those other things. Do you understand the need for the project?
I guess my thoughts would be, I do feel like it would be an appropriate use of the ARPA funds. Anytime you can do an infrastructure project, which, ultimately the infrastructure of the city needs to be one of our high priorities of what we take care of. And we can have funds available that don't come out of our general funds to have to pay for it. I think that's a pretty good deal. Like I said, with the ARPA funds, I don't have the list in front of me, but it's a pretty narrow list of the type of projects that funding can be used for. And this does qualify. As far as putting out an RFP, I'm a little torn on that personally. Normally, anytime we do any kind of a big project, like I said, you're guessing it's going to be like a $350,000-ish project. An RFP would typically be the way to go. I feel like this is a little more complicated in the fact that this is a company that has already been working through the system for several years, and it's basically would be a continuation of the project they've been doing. So I don't have a firm feeling either way on that. Typically I do like the idea of doing an RFP for any kind of a large project, just because we should be looking out to getting the best contract for projects possible for the city. But at the same time, like I said, it is more or less a continuation of a larger project that's been going on for quite some time. So what are your guys' thoughts?
I think my preference would probably be an RFP. I feel like, in order to be a proper steward of the taxpayer dollars, at least send the message that, we're not just gonna, yeah, we have been working with them. They've done a good job for us, but we're always looking to make sure that there's not something else out there that might be a better fit for us. So I think that would be my preference if it was gonna be a decision that would be left up to me. I'd ask for an RFP. And it, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we pass a spending policy that dictates that we're gonna have to get an RFP for a project of that size anyway?
Of that size, yeah, as far as purchasing policy.
So I just say follow the purchasing policy and get the RFP.
Yeah. I'm in favor of the RFP.
Okay.
Okay, like that as the consensus?
I guess the only other question I would ask is are there any other needs that are pressing that we should use the ARPA funds for, that we're aware of?
The only other thing that might come up, and Neil could correct me, because basically the ARPA funds, as far as the list, is the ones that apply for Goodland is just water and wastewater projects. There is a broadband issue, but that's more a community, I mean, if we were involved in that,
Mhm.
you know, type thing, as far as broadband. And then there's, I don't even remember what the other thing was, but I knew it didn't apply to our community. The only other thing that could come up, but we're waiting on a response, is the roof of the Memory Park water tower might need to be addressed, but we have no idea whether that's going to be a small ticket or a larger ticket. We're having the engineer as far as the assessment of it and what direction we should take with it to give a response, and we haven't received that back as yet. I don't think it would take up a majority of these funds in any case. Memory Park.
Do you know about what the amount of the fund is that we have?
It's in the fours.
490.
421,000.
And those funds need to be appropriated by the end of the year, correct? We have to have those.
You have to have, they just allocated like 24 and at least,
And you have to have it identified, basically, or a contract with it by the end of this year.
Well, maybe we'll get lucky and we can do both.
Sounds like this is an important project we need to get on top of. So
No, absolutely.
let's do it.
We'll create the RFP and have it come back to you for review before we post it.
What was the longevity of this material?
CIP is what
It's a new enough technology.
We
they
don't,
I
think.
haven't never seen one fail that we've ever put in.
it's going to last a generation at least. So.
Okay.
It's got pretty good reviews on it.
Good.
And everybody's going to it. They'll be doing a project in Binkelman, and so they're gonna kind of split the cost between Binkelman and us for travel expenses, and just kind of put it as one project for the two of us, to kind of save them money and save us money on some of that project. Is what they discussed before.
No, I'm all for it.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Dale.
Thanks.
Is that clear enough direction?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else up for discussion?
No, sir.
Okay, let's move on to reports, starting with our city manager. Kent?
Your manager memo is in the packet. The city offices will be closed for Martin Luther King Day, 2 weeks from yesterday. Thus, our next meeting will be set for January 17th, 2 weeks from tonight, a regular commission meeting. Also on that 17th, I don't have it on the agenda here, but I do want to make mention of it. Or did that day get changed, Mary? Now I'm thinking about it, and the dog license day.
We have not discussed it.
Okay.
At the current time, it's still advertised for that day.
It's still advertised for the 17th.
Mhm.
Yes. I also wanted to have an update on the demolition of 1514 Caldwell Avenue, so I'll ask building official Jeff Dinkle to come say a few words.
Hello again. Mr. Yager won the bid for the demolition. He was trying to anticipate having it done by this Friday. A little bit of weather, and he had an injury, broke his hand in a few places. So I reached out to him again today, went by the property, walked it over. They've worked on it a little bit, but he's down to one guy and then him. So he said he's going to try and get her done by January 31st. So give him a month and we'll get in there. So.
Well, the weather's been a good problem to have to set them back a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Also wanted to give you an update on the KMEA AMI cost share program, otherwise known as dealing with Tantalus. Mary, could you speak to that?
After last meeting, you guys approved to go with KMEA and Tantalus, and KMEA kind of outlined the costs and put it in a, not an agreement per se, but they outlined so that everybody understood what the costs were. And I believe it's in your packet?
Yep, we do have a copy of that.
And the cost was just a smidge less.
Smidge less than what we stated, because there was a couple of errors when they calculated them, but again, if they get more cities on board, they anticipate we will get credit and our costs will go down, which so do I.
We will all hope that is the case.
I do too.
We also received notice, and I don't have it in front of me, so Sunflower gave notice that their wholesale member tariff has been adjusted. They had one that went down slightly and one that went up slightly, and then one that also went up a little bit. But as far as the cost to us, I don't think it'll adjust too much, but we did get notice from Sunflower that the costs were slightly changed for their wholesale members. And we received that through the contract that we have with Prairie Land. So wanted to include that.
Okay.
And that's all I have right now.
Anybody have any questions or comments for our city manager?
I've made it back. Just barely.
Thank you, Kent.
You bet.
Okay, we'll move on to commissioner reports. We'll start down here on my left with Commissioner Redland.
Yeah, just want to thank the city crews for all you guys' hard work with all the cold. That's hard on equipment, it's hard on everything. It's hard on the electrical, it's hard on our roads. But you guys have done an excellent job of making sure our roads are cleared, power is on, our water lines are fixed, repaired, unthawed, whatever it may be. Just thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Howard?
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Myers?
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Showalter?
I want to thank our building inspector, Jeff Dinkle. I know you have a thankless job and you keep us busy and keep us hopping, and you're out there doing what you're supposed to do, and we appreciate that. It's not an easy thing that you're doing, so thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, for the mayor's report, I have nothing more to add. So with that, I'm going to make a motion to go under executive session under the authority of KSA 75-4319B1 for personnel matters for non-elected personnel. I would like it to be for 20 minutes, and I would like the other commissioners to be part of that with me. I have a motion on the table.
Second time.
I have a second by Commissioner Showalter. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it is 6 o'clock. Thank you.
How long?
20 minutes.
20.
20 minutes. All right, we'll call this meeting back to order. Does anybody else have any other further discussion? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Redlin,
Second.
second by Commissioner Howard. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.